I've been fascinated by dinosaurs ever since I was a little kid. I devoured books and movies about them. I knew their shapes, their names, even the terminology. Dinosaurs were my thing. So when I saw this Seraphon model, inspired by these magnificent creatures, I knew I had to get my hands on it. Now let's see what I can do to bring it to life. Let's begin, shall we? We begin as always with our trusty Montana Black Primer, a solid, perfect foundation. And then it's time to bring in the light. I laid down a Zenithal highlight with golden titanium white using my loyal Pache Talon with a 0.66mm setup. At around 45 to 50 psi, the Talon delivers the finest mist. So fine you won't see a single droplet. Instead, you see a soft, beautiful cloud of white wrapping the model, giving it life before color even touches it. Now the detail work begins. And this time, we're stepping into new territory. We have explored American airbrushes, Japanese, German, Chinese, but Taiwan, another giant in their brush world, was missing. Not anymore. Today, we work with a brand you asked for, MudWorks, specifically the MudWorks Maxwell 1. I laid down a layer of phthalo blue-green shade with the airbrush. This creates a rich, deep base that will interact beautifully with the colors that follow. I applied it smoothly, making sure to cover the skin and lower body areas that will transition later. This cool, dark tone sets the stage for what comes next. Then I sprayed over the blue base on the belly and the lower section of this raptor with yellow. Because I'm spraying it over the blue-green base, the tint transparency of the yellow mutates into green. A single pass gives you a desaturated green. Layer after layer, the green saturates. Keep going, and it shifts entirely into yellow. I love playing with colors this way. It's a perfect example of how your base coat interacts with every layer you lay on top. And with an airbrush, you can really make these layers sing. Then I keep going. Skin, feathers, claws, everything else gets its base with the airbrush. And this time you'll notice, I'm showing you how I mix my paint. I use the backflashing technique with a pre-thin mix I've developed over time. One day soon, I'll talk about what I believe is the best thinner out there and how I tweak it for even better results. But for now, here is my process. For base coating with model paints, I typically go with 5 to 10 drops of thinner per 1 drop of paint. Thinner first, paint second, a quick back flush, and you're ready to go. I'm using again the gunmetal play marker by AK for the metallic sections of the model. They're quick, convenient, and give excellent coverage in one layer. What I really love about these markers is that when I put the cap back on and store them, even if I pick them up after a couple of weeks, the tip never dries out. This completely eliminates the need to constantly add thinner to metallic paints to prevent them from drying, or to keep them sitting on a wet palette. Before moving on, I established the deepest shadows early. Using deep turquoise, I laid down a pre-shading pass. It gives me a roadmap, a vision of how the model will look at the end, and guides me through the next layers. Next, we're going to spray a protective varnish layer. I never skip this step. I spray it with my airbrush, again using the Pache Talon. For this, I mix 2 parts of matte varnish with 1 part of satin varnish from Liquitex. Liquitex varnish is thin enough to be sprayed through the Talon without any additional thinning. At the very least, it ensures the model is properly sealed and ready for whatever comes next. And now, it's time for the spaghetti gouache wash. If you have followed my channel for a while, you know this technique well. It's one of my go-to steps. I use acrylic wash from Liquitex, thinned with a mixture I've refined over time. 50% water and 50% Acrylic retarder, the thin, transparent kind. This mix flows with no effort through the airbrush, laying down a smooth, even mist that seeps into the recesses and textures. Once the wash is on, I go in with makeup sponges to gently remove the excess from the raised areas, leaving the shadows perfectly defined in all the details. And here is the beauty of it. In the short term, while it's fresh, I can reactivate it with water if I need to fix or adjust anything. But once it's fully dried and cured, it will not reactivate anymore, locking everything in place for the long term. Fast, controlled and reliable, this wash is a key part of how I bring depth and life to the model. Now it's time for the spaghetti dry brushing. This is also one of my signature techniques, a way to bring out edges, textures and micro details without too much mental effort. I use microdental brushes for this step. I cut the tip of the microdental brush and insert it into my Melody Suzy rotary tool. It's comfortable, precise and perfect for the job. Normally, I do this step with oil paint, but many of you have asked, can you do it with acrylics? Yes, you can, and here is how. For dry brushing with acrylics, the thicker the paint, the better. Most Citadel paints work great, and here I'm using ionic paint from Ammo by Meg, which has a thick consistency, perfect for this technique. Avoid very thin paints like Pro Acryl. They won't give you the control you need. To make acrylics work for the spaghetti dry brushing, we need to extend their drying time while keeping the thickness. This is where a thick retarder comes in, like Vallejo retarder. I mix 75% paint with 25% Vallejo retarder in an aluminum pot. No wet palette needed. Once mixed, this paint stays wet for a long time, giving you plenty of working time. I load a bit of paint onto the microdental brush tip. Wipe off the excess until it feels almost dry, and let the rotary tool skim lightly over the raised surfaces. Edges, textures, scales, faders. All those details start catching highlights, building up layer by layer. As I progress, I go up in value with the colors and narrow the sections I'm working on, so the highlights become more focused and precise as I build towards the brightest tones. For the metallic sections, I stick with what I know works best, oil paint. I haven't found an acrylic metallic that behaves properly for this technique, so I use my trustworthy gambling silver to dry brush the armor. It catches the edges beautifully and delivers exactly the result I want. Next, I want to give some accent and color to that armor. A mix of gold and green-blue tones, To do that, I use contrast paints, but I thin them down first with some contrast medium and a little bit of water. This keeps them more transparent, so all the work from the spaghetti dry brushing still shines through. Every highlight, every texture is preserved beneath that tint. And yes, for this step I use a regular brush. Not because I don't like the brush, it's a fantastic tool. It's just that the airbrush is my favorite and I love pushing it as far as I can go. Experimenting, trying new things. Keep painting exciting, that's why I explore these techniques. But for these delicate transparent accents, the regular brush is simply the right tool. Now it's time to return to my favorite tool, the airbrush, to bring everything together. I go back to the Max 1 and start blending with midtones across the skin of both the raptor and the knight. Then I slowly work up in value, reducing the scope of the areas I blend until every transition feels more natural and smooth. If you watch my Gallery Mobius 02 review, you might remember I said, while the Mobius is a great detail airbrush, it isn't the best detail brush for the money. I teased you. If you want to know which one it is, go subscribe and see what happens. Well, this is it. This is what I was talking about. The Madworks Maxwell 1 is, in my opinion, the best detail airbrush you can buy for the money today, at least here in the United States. When I do the full review, I'll explain exactly why. And I think you'll be surprised of how good this little brush really is. So, stay tuned. Once everything is nicely blended, we have reached the level of smooth transition we wanted. Now it's time to further shade the model, starting from the bigger areas, then going deeper into the most hidden recesses. And even though we're using true metallics, I still follow the same non-metallic metal rules, highlighting and shading as if I were painting non-metallic metal. This gives the armor a dynamic, realistic feel that makes it stand out. Considering that over 90% of this entire paint job was done without a regular brush, I think the result is already pretty striking, but it never hurts to push the model just a little further. So as usual, I go in with acrylics and give the model an all-around pass of edge highlighting, just to make it pop. And when that's done, that's it. I look at it and I'm generally satisfied with how it turned out. I already think it looks pretty cool and I hope you do too. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, leave it a like and subscribe. And join me in the pursuit to become the fastest airbrush slinger in the West. Hey!